Yo, what's up guys, Classic Colin here with another video, and today we're going to be going over the Shaman runes for Classic Season of Discovery. Now before we get into the runes guys, I just want to go ahead and say that this is the class that I'm going to be playing, and this is why. And if that's not enough burst for you, we've got all of these abilities here, and that's going to leave our burst looking a little something like this. Alright guys, so let's cover the runes that I believe are going to make the Shaman, that's Enhance, Resto, and Elemental Shamans insane in Classic Season of Discovery. We're going to start out with the chest, and the first rune is Overload. Gives you a Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Chain Heal, Healing Wave, and Lava Burst spells a 33% chance to cast a second similar spell on the same target at no additional cost that causes half damage or healing and no threat. So let's just take the base Shaman that we know, with the Chain Lightning, Lightning Bolt, Earth Shock, Frost Shock, etc. That deals a shit ton of burst, as you saw in the start of this video alone. So add in this, which gives those spells a chance to cast twice. Granted, it's half damage, but if you see the damage numbers, you're one-shotting people anyway. So honestly, this is going to be super overkill. I can see Chain Lightning with this proccing just one-shotting like 3 people. It's going to be insane, man. I'm super hyped that they add this to Classic. Next rune up for your chest then guys is Healing Rain. Selects the area 15 yards around the target player and heals all of target player's party members within that area for 20 every second. So obviously this is just going to help Resto Shamans and their ability to AoE raid heal. Also, it's going to look pretty cool, and cool looking spells are always welcome. Next up for your chest then guys is Dual Wield Specialization. Increases your chance to hit with both spells and melee attacks by 5% while dual wielding. And your Storm Strike ability now hits with both weapons. Okay, so personally, I'm not too happy about this rune, to be honest. I would have preferred to have seen them really double down on the two-handed enhanced playstyle that Vanilla offers, because that goes away in Burning Crusade and every other expansion. It just doesn't exist, and it's failed to exist in WoW for 20 years. But in Vanilla, it's a fun playstyle, big Wind Fury crits. Obviously, the dual wielding thing, you get 5% hit for not only melee attacks, but spells as well. So it's going to be super viable, and all the classes that deal the most DPS as melee also dual wield, so it's going to be a lot easier just to do it this way. But again, personally, I'd have liked to have seen two-handed enhanced Shamans popping off. Next up then guys is the first tanking rune for Shamans, and it's Shield Mastery. Each time you block, you regenerate mana equal to 4% of your maximum mana, and you gain armor equal to 30% of your shield's armor value. So personally, I think it's great that they're going to enable a bunch of different classes to tank. And honestly, out of all the classes that they are going to be able to tank that couldn't previously, I feel like Shaman is the most fitting, lore-wise, aesthetically, it just fits. They already have a bunch of abilities that pretty much allow them to tank, and runes like this are just going to help further drive them in that direction of being a tank. Alright, moving on to the leg runes now then guys, and the first one is Earth Shield. Protects a target with an earthen shield, reducing castling or channel time loss when damaged by 30%, and causing attacks to heal the shielded target for 100. This effect can only occur once every few seconds. 3 charges last 10 minutes. Earth Shield can only be placed on one target at a time, and only one elemental shield can be active on a target at any time. So what a great button for Resto Shamans out there. Possibly even use it on Enhanced Shamans and Elemental Shamans. It's just a nice ability to have. In PvP, if a rogue opens on you or you suddenly get bursted out of anywhere, this really helps you stay alive and tank through that. And in PvE, it's going to be a buff that you're going to have to maintain on the main tank in raids. Up next then guys, it's Way of Earth, which is going to be a tanking rune for your leg slap. While Rockbiter weapon is active on your main hand weapon, you deal 100% increased threat, gain 30% increased health, take 10% reduced damage, gain 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee attacks, and Earthshock taunts targets to attack you, and has a separate cooldown from other shock spells, but has its range reduced to melee range. So this is obviously a tanking rune for your legs, guys, as I said, and this is giving you an insane amount of tankiness for just one rune. I can also see this being used possibly by resto and even elemental shamans in PvP, because this one rune is going to make you super tanky. 30% increased health, 6% reduced chance to be critically hit. The only downside to it is the fact that it makes your Earthshock melee range, but it also removes your Earthshock sharing a cooldown with your other shock spells, which is going to allow you to use Frost Shock and Earthshock back to back, opposed to waiting for the cooldown that's shared across all of your shock abilities. Next up then, guys, it's Ancestral Guidance, which is another leg rune. For the next 10 seconds, 25% of your damage is converted to healing on up to 3 nearby party members, and 100% of your healing is converted to damage on your most recent flame shock target. So this is an interesting ability. We've seen this before for shamans, but we've never seen the secondary effect of it, which is going to allow your healing to be converted into damage on your most recent flame shock target. That second part is going to make this work really well for resto and elemental shamans. So for elemental shamans, it's going to heal 3 party members, and 25% of your damage is a big deal when you're an Ellie shaman because you fucking pump. As for resto shamans, this is actually going to allow them to do a significant amount of damage, because resto shamans can pump out some serious healing, and 100% of the healing that you cause will be converted into damage on your most recent flame shock target. So on a raid boss, for example, if you got flame shock up on him and you start spam healing into the raid group, you're going to put out some serious numbers. Alright guys, last rune for your leg slot is Shamanistic Rage. Reduces all damage you take by 20%, and you regenerate mana every second for 15 seconds. Mana regenerated per second is equal to 15% of your attack power, 10% of your spell power, or 6% of your healing power, whichever value is greatest. So I'm really glad to see spells like this being added to Shaman, because Shaman have got major mana issues. Their spells just cost so much of their mana. It doesn't matter how much mana you stack. After a few just Chain Lightning, Lightning Bolt, Earthshock rotations, bam, you're room. That's before you've dropped any of your totems, before you've reapplied your Earth Shield, before you've maybe gone in and out of Ghost Wolf, any of those things. So seeing abilities like this that are going to allow the Shaman to regenerate mana is definitely a welcome sight. As well as that, this ability is also going to give you a nice flat percentage damage reduction, which is also going to help with those pesky rogues, warriors, and pretty much any other class that's about to open on you and hit you real hard. You can pop this preemptively and you're going to take a lot less damage from that burst. Onto the gloves now then, guys, and sticking with the theme of mana regeneration, we have Water Shield. The caster is surrounded by 3 globes of water, granting 1% of your maximum mana per 5 seconds. When a spell, melee, or ranged attack hits the caster, 4% of maximum mana is restored to the caster. This expends 1 water globe. Only 1 globe will activate every few seconds. Only 1 elemental shield can be active on the shaman at any time. So as I said with the previous rune, guys, anything that gives us mana is always very welcome in my eyes, and this is going to allow your mana to constantly tick up while it's on you, and anytime that you are hit, whether that be in PvP or PvE combat, you're going to get some mana back, and more mana equals more casting. On to the next rune then, guys, and it is Lava Lash. You charge your offhand weapon with lava, instantly dealing 100% offhand weapon damage. Damage is increased by 20% if your offhand weapon is enchanted with Flame Tongue. So obviously this is the bread and butter for your dual wield enhancement shaman playstyle that they're trying to push. Now personally, I never like this ability. It forces you to put Flame Tongue on your offhand weapon, which is obviously a good thing with this ability, and it's a good thing in general. But to me, I always like the idea of putting Wind Fury on both one-handers. That way it'd just proc a lot more often and you'd just be slamming crits into people's faces and raid bosses' faces. But it doesn't work like that now, does it? Next up for your glove slot then, guys, is Lava Burst. You hurl molten lava at the target, dealing 198 to 256 fire damage. If your Flame Shock is on the target, Lava Burst will deal a critical strike. Now before I saw the Shaman runes, I saw the Warlock runes, and when I saw that Warlocks had Chaos Bolt, I thought, please Lord, give Shamans Lava Burst, and guess what? They did just that. Now the only downside to Lava Burst is it's on your gloves, and the other thing that's on your gloves is Water Shield. And Lord knows Elemental Shaman could definitely use that mana regen. Next up for your gloves then, guys, we have Molten Blast. Blast enemies in front of you for 40 to 55 fire damage. This ability generates a high amount of threat. Flame Shock periodic damage has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown on Molten Blast. So this to me is a really cool tanking ability that they've added here. The fact that Flame Shock has a chance to reset the cooldown on this ability, I like things like that. And I think that procs and reset chances are just something that's been in the Shaman kit for a lot of years now. It's something that I always enjoy the way it plays whenever I play a Shaman. That's it for the Shaman runes then, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If there's any abilities that you would have liked to have seen that you don't see, or if there's any abilities that you feel like Blizzard's taking it way too far and this ability does not belong in Classic. For me personally, I'm super hyped for Shaman. Not only now do they have the ability to cover all 3 roles, that's DPS, tank, and heal, but they also have 2 DPS specs that are the complete opposite. So it's not like a mage where when you pick a mage, you are just a caster DPS and you're locked in, you've got 3 DPS specs. Let's be honest, only 2 of them are viable, but that actually changes in Season Mastery, so we'll check that out when we get around to the mage runes. But with the Shaman, you can play as a melee DPS and you can play as a ranged caster DPS. And that's something that's going to be great for me personally because I do enjoy the 2 different playstyles, and being able to switch between melee and ranged DPS for me is going to be a ton of fun, and it is the reason that I've decided to make this my main class going into Season of Discovery. What's going to be your main class in Season of Discovery, guys? If you made it this far in the video, I do appreciate you. Please like the video, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be covering everything Classic here. That's Classic Wrath of the Lich King, that's Classic Kata, and Classic Season of Discovery. If there's any news that's worth reporting for any 3 of those, I'm going to be straight on that. So if that's something that you like the sound of, guys, like I say, subscribe, hit the bell notification. That way when I upload, you'll be notified so you don't miss the next video. Until then, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.